Out here, the Mojave doesn't just kill you with claws and teeth. Sometimes it kills you with invoices, with permits, with approved routes, with men in clean collars who never walk the asphalt, but somehow decide who gets to. They called her Rose of Sharon Cassidy, but nobody in the trade lanes said the whole thing. Too formal, too gentle. They called her Cass. And when the whiskey hit her cheeks and the desert sun hit her hat brim, they called her Whiskey Rose. Because she bloomed anyway. Even when the road tried to grind her into dust, even when the Mojave took everything she built and left her holding nothing but a bottle and a name that still hurt to say out loud. This is the story of how Cass became Cass. Not the companion you meet at the outpost, not the sarcastic voice at your shoulder, but the woman before that. The one who learned, slowly, what it costs to move water through a dying world, and why the Mojave's trade wars don't end with contracts. They end with ash. You want to understand Cass, you start with the thing she wears closest to her heart. Not the hat, not the shotgun, the pendant. A little rose-shaped promise from a father who couldn't stay. Cass was born in 2244, back in NCR territory, where civilization is a word people say like it's a prayer. Her father was John Cassidy, a wastelander with the kind of history that gets told in bars and denied in offices. He'd run with legends. He'd seen the Enclave burn. He'd walked away from battles most people only hear about in bedtime stories, the kind you tell kids so they don't grow up soft. And for a while, he tried to be something else. A family man, a settled man. He had a tribal woman at his side, from east of the Colorado, and together they made a daughter with a name too beautiful for the world she was born into, Rose of Sharon. He gave that baby a pendant, a rose, a little metal reminder that even in the wastes, you can choose to care about something. But the thing about wanderers is they don't just travel roads, they carry storms inside them. And one day John Cassidy walked east, and he never walked back. No note, no goodbye, no certainty, just absence. And the first lesson Cass ever learned was this: sometimes the people you love aren't taken by raiders, they're taken by the horizon. Her mother held on long enough to raise her into her teens, sick, stubborn, determined, the kind of woman the wasteland respects. Then she died too, and Cass was alone. No caravan, no tribe, no father's hand on her shoulder. Just a pendant, and a body that inherited both gifts and curses. A dead-eye aim, a taste for violence when the world pushes too hard, and a heart condition that makes chems a death sentence. So when other people pop jet to run faster, Cass learned to run on grit. When others leaned on Medex and Psycho, Cass leaned on something older. Whiskey. Cleaner than the water some towns sell you anyway. Here's the part people get wrong. They think Cass became a caravan master because she loved money, or because she wanted to be someone. No. Cass became a caravan master because she had ants in her feet. Because staying still in NCR territory felt like dying slow. So she did what the wastes always reward. She turned her restlessness into work. She carried packages, letters, trade goods, water, a little here, a little there. And she learned the true map of the West. Not the one in NCR offices, not the one politicians point at with a stick. The real map. The one made of who pays on time, who cheats, who's starving, who's lying. and which stretches of road smell like ambush. But the more she learned the routes, the more she realized something. In the Mojave, water is religion, and the one who moves it is a priest with a shotgun. Therefore, she made it official. Cassidy Caravans. Small outfit, family name. A business built from walking legs, stubborn pride, and the belief that honest delivery still meant something. For a while, it worked. Not rich, not famous, but steady. Modest profit, a few hands who trusted her. Brahmin that knew her voice. Settlements that recognized her hat on the horizon and felt their chests loosen because the water was actually arriving. But the NCR pushed east, and when the NCR pushes, the world changes shape. Routes open, money flows. New Vegas becomes a magnet. Therefore, the big companies arrive. Crimson caravan types, people with ledgers thick as armor and connections sharper than knives. And competition stops being who delivers better, it becomes who gets erased. Cass was tough. That's not debate, that's reputation. She could handle a shotgun and a bottle with the same steady hands. She could smile like she didn't care, then crack a loudmouth across the teeth before you finished the sentence. Sometimes that's the closest thing to negotiation you get out here. She wasn't stupid either. She understood towns, people, supply, demand. But the Mojave doesn't only test toughness. It tests how well you survive a game where the other side doesn't follow rules. The NCR says it's building order, roads, patrols, trade, stability. But patrols are thin, paperwork is thick, and the order mostly protects the people who already have caps. Cass sees that, feels it. She's NCR by geography, but her loyalty is to the hands on the wagons, to the ones who bleed on the road. And then you've got the Legion out there, a nightmare wearing a flag. Cass hates them the way a decent person hates cruelty. Not political, personal. Because in the Mojave, a woman traveling the roads knows exactly what the Legion means. It means chains disguised as law. So Cass stands in the middle of it all. NCR bureaucracy behind her, Legion horror ahead, and corporate predators circling like coyotes with calculator. People talk about caravan losses like it's numbers, but I've stood at burned caravan sites. I've stepped through the black dust. I've seen the way a Brahmin's skull cracks open when heat and energy weapons turn bone into brittle glass. There's a smell to it. Metal, fat, ash. And when you smell it enough times, you stop thinking in numbers. You start thinking in faces. Cass started losing more than goods. Brahmin got stolen. Hands got killed. Routes that used to be safe became traps. And the worst part? Sometimes nothing was taken. Not the water, not the cargo, just lives, destroyed with effort. Which tells you the truth. This wasn't raiders hungry for caps. This was someone sending a message. You don't belong in this market. Cass's people weren't robbed. They were erased. And Cass kept going anyway, because that's what pride does. But pride doesn't resurrect the dead. Therefore, the losses pile up until the business isn't a business anymore. It's a funeral that moves. Then came the hit that ended it. Cass wasn't there. She was at Mojave Outpost, the last checkpoint, the last pin, the last place where the NCR pretends it controls the gate north. And if you've never been stuck at an NCR choke point, let me explain. It's like dying of thirst next to a river because someone stamped your form wrong. Civilization. Ranger Jackson, doing his job, doing it hard, refused to send people north while the road was crawling with danger, and the outpost paperwork backed up like Brahmin in a corral. Cass couldn't move, couldn't investigate, couldn't do anything but wait. So she sat at the bar, and she drank. Not because she was weak, because whiskey was the only thing that made the wall stop closing in. Then the Rangers brought news. Her caravan was gone. Not robbed, not hit. Gone. Burned to ash. Wagons blackened. Bodies ruined. Brahmin down. And the cargo? Not stolen. Disintegrated. Which means somebody used weapons you don't waste on random travelers. Energy weapons. Professional work. Deniable. Cruel. And in that moment, Cass's bad luck stopped feeling like luck. It started feeling like someone was holding her throat. So there she is, Mojave Outpost. No caravan, no road. No future that makes sense yet. Just whiskey. And anger. And that little rose pendant reminding her that she came from wanderers and graves. People see her there and think she's finished. But I've watched people like Cass. They don't fold. They ferment. Grief becomes fuel. Sarcasm becomes armor. And every bottle is a countdown until the day she can finally step back onto the road and aim her questions at the right throats. You want the truth of Cass? It's not just that she drinks. It's why she drinks. She drinks because she remembers every hand she lost. Because she knows the NCR will file them as losses. Because she can feel the corporate smile behind the slaughter. And because nobody gets to take her father's name and turn it into a footnote. Face Corp has a saying in the archives. Routes are stories. Choke points are chapters. And every burned caravan is a sentence someone tried to delete. I've read the testimonies. Caravanners who survived other hits, talking about drained energy cells in the dirt, about corpses left where the cargo should have been touched. I've seen how investigations get pointed in the wrong direction on purpose, how the Mojave can be shaped by rumors like rebar shapes concrete. And I've watched what happens when a person realizes their tragedy wasn't random. Random pain is hard, but pain with a culprit? That pain becomes a compass. Cass didn't know every name yet, didn't have every proof, but she had the shape of it, a pattern, a stink, a truth just under the whiskey fumes. So when you meet Cass in 2021, slumped at the Mojave Outpost bar, don't mistake her for defeated. She's not a drunk waiting to die. She's a survivor waiting to move. A caravan master whose business got murdered by the kind of enemy that wears clean hands. And the Mojave? The Mojave is about to hand her a chance, a courier, a new road, a thread that leads from ash to the people who made it. Because out here, the Mojave doesn't just kill you with claws and teeth. Sometimes it kills you with invoices. And sometimes, a whiskey rose learns exactly where the ink comes from.
Archive node reconnecting. Face Corp terminal online.
Well, you made it to the end, Wastelander. And I want to thank you for walking this dusty road with me. These stories, they live because you keep listening, because you care, because the Wasteland still has folks like you out there. If you've got a topic you want me to dig into next, a vault, a faction, a legend, a cover-up, send it my way. Face Corp is always monitoring incoming requests. And hey, if you enjoyed this archive entry, press that like button. It keeps the terminal lights on. And if you want more stories from the ruins, go on and subscribe. Your support helps Space Corp recover and preserve every last fragment of our shattered world.
Loading next recommended archive file. File located. Displaying now.
It's right there on your screen. Go on. Open it. I'll meet you inside.